Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Marketing Podcast, your source for all things marketing. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today is a very special Reunion 2020 episode. What is that? That's when I had a guest on in the past, and I liked him so much I had to bring him on back. So today's special return guest is Carolyn Barth, and she's the CEO over at Digital Content Strategy. Carolyn, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much, Adam. Great to talk to you.
So great to talk to you also, and I'm excited to get into today's topic. So crisis PR and pandemics, how anxiety is contagious. And for the listeners in the pre-show, Carolyn wrote this. She's so good. She didn't even know how good it was. I was like, oh, Carolyn, thank you. You wrote the title for my team. She's like, wait a minute, that was a good title. So you're in the right hands. Carolyn is the person you want to talk to about PR. And speaking of that, I don't want to assume that, Carolyn, that our listeners caught your first episode, our new listeners, that is. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing over at Digital Content Strategy, please.
Hey, Adam. So, yes, I have a guaranteed media national story that's really good for companies that are very well known in real life. And then with today's digital world, they need to bring their reputation over online. And they're usually scientists, doctors, dentists, highly educated professionals, CEOs, technology people whose mindset is a little bit different. They're so into their work that sometimes they forget that communicating their work out to the real world is as important, and using terms that people can understand are very important. So I have some national media placements that can either help establish a startup and get you on the map and fill up a lonely news section like we talked about before, or else help an established brand kind of connect with their online audiences and bring over that brand. And then it has some SEO purposes, 80 domain authority and above, and a lot of controlled media that a lot of times you need for that first story, so there's no surprises. And then I also do video marketing, PR and SEO, and I'm also doing more paid social these days.
So let's get into today's topic. So crisis, PR, and pandemic, how anxiety is contagious. Where do you want to start with this one?
Well, on this one, I was finding last week when we're really dealing in a very tough world right now because, so I have been working in the PR space for over 20 years, and some of the things I've worked on have been the H1N1 story with board-certified pathologists. And it was my job to basically sit in rooms with the CDC, with board-certified pathologists, with some of our lab testing experts, and really help communicate out scientifically accurate information when H1N1 or swine flu was big about 10 years ago, and calm the public down. So I'm reaching back into that treasure trove. I don't usually advertise that I do crisis PR, but I'm actually pretty good at it. So I love proactive PR, but crisis PR is what we need right now. And the thing we need are some facts. So one thing I didn't have to deal with as much about 10 years ago was how social media just takes a story and blows it up. And you see pictures of people walking around with masks. You have misinformation out there. You have people buying up toilet paper. You have no thermometers at stores. I mean, just hoarding scary images, and it's global with not a lot of scientific knowledge, not a lot of stuff coming from the top of our scientists saying, most of these cases are going to be mild. The ones we're hearing about, everybody in ICU is getting tested, one doctor told me. So we are hearing about the really extreme cases. But a lot of people will have mild cases of this, and it's like a 50-50 chance of recovery. So right now, instead of having actual information and testing in the States, we're shutting down everything. I'm in Chicago. We have no restaurants open. We have everybody social distancing, which a doctor reminds me is not supposed to be social isolation, but we're all social distancing right now. And I just want everybody to take a step back and try to apply some logic. Fear goes first to emotion, and then you have to kind of step back and say, is 100% true? Is this really everything I know about this? It's good to use common sense, but I'm just concerned about the height of the message, the reach of the message, and the fear going on with the message and it being contagious. Whereas if we can kind of just come back and try to look at the CDC, the WHO resources we have, and try to just stay, wise in this moment. I just am hoping, washing our hands goes a huge distance right now for that, and also does, 10 years ago the advice was wash your hands sing happy birthday to yourself twice for 20 minutes with soap and water. The soap and water is good too. Cough into your elbow or your sleeve, and then also kind of, don't touch your face. And some of those in the social distancing is great too, but don't panic if you have a tiny sneeze, because if you look at some of the infographics out there, that doesn't seem to even be correlating with COVID-19 or the coronavirus.
What should businesses be thinking about right now? So you're a business, and I mean specifically in terms of PR. So I understand from the we've kind of covered it from the mass side of things and the general public. What should businesses be thinking about PR related, and kind of what's next for them if this is the new norm as it relates to PR?
I love that question. First of all, the thing you need to do is to get a small team together. You need to get your head of corporate communications or a PR professional, even if it's consultant, somebody who comes in. We need one message that's simple and easy to understand and remember and doesn't scare people. So whatever that one message is, it's a stake in the ground, 3 bullet points, and 1 call to action. You want to be, people are afraid of each other now, right now. Oh, I've been exposed. Oh, I've had this. Oh, I could have done this. I might have had this. You just need calm, all right? And you also need a game plan. So any crisis communications plan that's worth its weight in gold is 1 page. It's at the top, what the key message is, who needs to know about it, and what are the channels you're going to roll that out over. Who are going to be your second-level ambassadors to get that message out to your company heads? Who's going to be the third level down? But have a chain of command where people can take that message and very carefully disseminate it so there is not a game of telephone. It has to be one message, easy to understand, and very carefully deployed. And it should also be deployed to your board members. It should be deployed to your customers if you need to. But it needs to be clear, concise, and actionable. And also just set realistic expectations, like, oh, we're going to be working from home. We're going to need to figure this out. But also have maybe one central call line or one central place that people could even leave messages or an email so that you have a two-way communication coming back in. And then people can think about it. With PR, you don't always have to knee-jerk reaction with things. If you need people to answer questions and doing some two-way communications of things coming back to you, you want to have a way that you can look through the communication things so that you can pick the questions that are being asked most and give a thoughtful answer. And I've also noticed online that there are some really, really good infographics out there already about what's the difference between a cold, allergies, and the coronavirus and COVID-19. So it's a very good checklist. You have to do trusted sources. Again, try to stay up with the WHO, World Health Organization, and make sure that some of these are written by doctors. But, we just can't panic over every sneeze. I mean, this is going to be something we're going to have to work on.
No, it's a thing, and you're right. This whole from the H1N1, to now, you're right. Social media is out of control, and that's tricky because in all reality, you'd have to assume that that might be a bit of the new norm for these type of things. Because if social media was at the level that it was back then, would that have been more? You know what I mean? You can't really say. Obviously, that's hindsight. But one thing that is the new norm, whether it has to do with the virus or anything else or how we react to it, the new norm is us being more connected. So where this would have been, if something like this happened in the past, you may not have known as much about it. You may not have had the same, like you said, the pictures and all this and the public emotion and sentiment, all of that. That's probably going to continue just because we're used to it now. But that being said, I love your message, and I was taking notes while you were talking, like I usually do. Create one message, create a strategy, create a call to action. I mean, lots of actionable tips that you gave in this episode on what people can do for crisis PR management. So, Carolyn, I can talk to you about this all day long, but we're about out of time. If somebody's listening to this and they want more information on working with you or learning more about what you do, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, I would love for them to reach out and find me, Carolyn Barth Storytelling on LinkedIn. Reach out, connect with me, tell me that you've heard this episode. I have an article up there about how we handled H1N1. Stay close to the science. Just remember to put on our thinking caps and, act logically. Try to be careful about what we're getting out there because, and try to look for information that's reassuring because it's a scary time, and you want to trust the experts, the scientific accuracy, and we still have to move forward with business. So just,
I love that. I love that message. We have to move forward with business. I mean, I tweeted this morning. That we were, I think we have 49 or 50 podcast episodes scheduled this week. So, hey, we got to do business as usual, and that's it. That's what moves humanity forward. That's what I say. Like, there's been many different things, and people are still go to business. They still do their work, and so everybody listening, go to work. Do what you can. I love it. So, Carolyn, thank you again for coming back on the show as a return guest. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. I sure did. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, Mission Matters Marketing. And if you're watching that YouTube channel, Mission Matters Marketing, give us a subscribe there and let us know what you thought. Leave us some comments in the comment section of the video. Love to interact and move the conversation over to the YouTube community. And Carolyn, thanks again for coming back on the show.